Hello and welcome to the special broadcast from the Pink City of Jaipur, where we will be focusing on the state visit of French President Emmanuel Macron. The two-day visit began from Jaipur and culminated in New Delhi. We will focus on the strategic partnership between the two countries and the importance the leaders attach to the relationship itself. But first, let's talk about how the French president was mesmerized and absorbed the beauty, the culture, and the taste of India from Jaipur. French President Emmanuel Macron was shown the beauty of India, showcasing India's culture, handicrafts, and the taste of India from the city of Jaipur. He began by visiting the Amer Fort, where a cultural event was organized for the president, and then Prime Minister Modi welcomed him and received him at the iconic Jantar Mantar, showing him around the place where there is a huge French connection. French architects and Jesuit priests were consulted by the ruler Jai Singh when Jantar Mantar was being built. There began the roadshow with a stopover at Hawa Mahal, where two very important things happened. Apart from the fact that this iconic structure mesmerized the French president, India's digital transition, digital transformation was also showcased. Prime Minister Modi and President of France, Emmanuel Macron, sat and had tea, chai pe charcha, where Prime Minister Modi then made a digital transaction to show how fast India is moving to the digital age. He also then gifted the President of France a replica of the Ram Temple. And that Ram Temple, the inauguration of the Ram Temple, resonated throughout the roadshow here in Jaipur, where throngs of people coming to see the Prime Minister and the French President sang bhajans, welcomed the inauguration and the making of the Ram Temple. But on the strategic sphere, there were many aspects that were covered, from defense, planet, strategic partnership, economic cooperation, major discussions with a major outcome of the visit. And Prime Minister Modi ended the day by hosting the French president at the famous Rambagh Palace. Day two certainly was also the most important part of the French president's visit, which is the Republic Day Parade, where he attended as the chief guest, followed by major conversations with the business community, as also engaging the French embassy officials, and then ending with a state banquet. India-France bilateral relations has seen a major uptick in the past 7 years, and President Macron's visit to India caps 25th anniversary celebrations of the strategic partnership. Take a look.
At short notice comes a long-term friend, President of the French Republic. Emmanuel Macron is India's chief guest at the 75th Republic Day.
I think it's an indication of an unconditional commitment to the strategic partnership that France has got with India. I also think it's an indication of magnanimity on his part, because, as you say, he accepted it at short notice, because it comes close on the heels of Prime Minister India's visit to Paris on Bastille Day last July. So there's only one way to look at it, frankly, and that is that it's a demonstration of France's unconditional commitment to the partnership with India.
This visit caps 25th anniversary celebrations of the strategic partnership. Previously, the two leaders met 6 times in 2023 alone. The Indo-French partnership draws strength, trust and consistency from a shared sense of strategic relations in defense and security, civil nuclear matters and space. Those are the principal pillars of this partnership, which now includes a strong Indo-Pacific component as well. This has boosted business and trade between the two countries.
In In recent years, India-France relationship has broadened into many domains, including counter-terrorism, maritime security, sustainable development, digitalization and cybersecurity, among others. The salience of this relationship is growing in an ever-changing and complex geopolitical environment, with the focus clearly on their respective national ambitions. With VT journalist Prem Chandra Mishra in Jaipur, Geeta Mohan for India Today. Joining me on this broadcast is Shari Malhotra, Associate Fellow at the Observer Research Foundation, to speak about India-France relations and the importance of the ties. Shari, many thanks for joining us over here on World Today. We've seen a lot of optics between the two countries when it comes to the visit itself. But let's talk about the significance and the substance of the visit and the relationship.
Well, Geeta, firstly, thank you so much for having me here on your program. I think this is a relationship that matches symbolism and substance. You mentioned the optics, and the optics are, of course, wonderful. The fact that, President Joe Biden was originally supposed to be the chief guest at the Republic Day, but couldn't make it, and hence President Macron was invited to be here instead. And the fact that, President Macron accepted at such a short notice demonstrates the fact that France is an ally that India can, always count on. And I think this is really the speciality of this relationship. The fact that both countries have very similar conceptions of the world order, the fact that they both pursue a fiercely independent foreign policy, and the fact that they don't interfere in each other's internal affairs. You may recall that when the Russia-Ukraine war began, a lot of Western countries had a problem with India initially because India did not explicitly condemn Russia, but France was okay with it. That didn't really lead to a major hiccup in this partnership. So I think the fact that both countries can have fundamentally differing positions on critical issues, yet keep this relationship going forward, is a speciality of the relationship, because both countries are very cognizant of each other's need to exercise their own choices when it comes to foreign policy, and this removes potential friction points that could emerge. You talked about the substance of the relationship. Well, I would say that this is a very comprehensive, very multifaceted partnership where cooperation spans a range of sectors, of course, beginning from defense and security, which is the strongest and the traditional pillar of this partnership. But things have also expanded to include cooperation in areas such as climate change, energy transition, space, counterterrorism.
Shari Malhotra, thank you so much for joining us here on World Today. For the French president, the visit to India certainly rings and resonates back home, but he has major domestic concerns and challenges as well. Farmers in France took to the streets demonstrating dissatisfaction over government policies and rising costs. This certainly is one of the biggest challenges for the new French Prime Minister appointed by the French President, Prime Minister Gabriel Attal. Here is a report.
Farmers across France blocked roads to pressure the government to loosen regulations and help protect them from cheap imports and rising costs.
These are accumulations of recurrent standards, which we can no longer necessarily respond to in certain cases. These are economic and administrative burdens too. So after a while, it's to show how fed up we are with this. It is also to demonstrate against the imports which are flooding the French market that we cannot compete against, such as Ukrainian chicken. Currently, we cannot compete in terms of labor costs, environmental standards, animal welfare. Obviously, we have to be following the same rules.
This is the first major challenge faced by the new French Prime Minister, Gabriel Attal, after assuming office. Attal also expressed his condolences on the death of a farmer and a daughter after a car crashed into a road blockade during the protest.
Tout à l'heure, à Pamiers dans l'Ariège.
Earlier, a woman, a mother, a farmer lost her life. Her husband and daughter are seriously injured as we speak. It is a profession that is in mourning. It is our entire rural life that is mourning a family. But this tragedy resonates in each and every one of us, and an entire country is affected. I want once again, on behalf of the government and on behalf of all of you, to pay tribute to this family, to express our solidarity and support to them.
A small group of farmers protested outside the European Parliament in Brussels. They blamed the EU for the over-regulation, thus making their livelihoods unsustainable.
The message is, stop us from being caught in the middle. They impose more and more draconian standards to us, but on the other hand, our produce isn't protected. We need to be cleaner and cleaner, which costs us more and more, but we are in global market, so the cheapest wins.
Farmers listened last year that they are blamed for everything. They will destroy the nature. They will poison the people with their food and other things. And I think that it's really time to stop and to admit at the European Commission that they failed with these goals and start dialogue direct with farmers and start with them and on this. In this dialogue, find a way how to come to the normal situation back.
Meanwhile, the EU Agriculture Commissioner assured that the voices would be taken into account.
We are hearing very carefully farmers' voice, and I can declare that we will take into account this voice in our work, especially for the future common agricultural policy. I say during today's debate that we need the approach based on the forest principle: security, stability, sustainability and solidarity, and it should be included into the future common agricultural policy.
French President Emmanuel Macron is also wary of farmers' growing support for the far right ahead of the European Parliament elections in June. With Mahashweta Lala, Bureau Report, India Today.
The Republican race for presidential nomination in the United Nations has narrowed down to just two candidates: front-runner and former President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, and former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. With Trump having clinched the Iowa caucus and the New Hampshire primary, it seems like most sport pundits have already declared him the winner. But Nikki Haley says she's not done just yet. The political slugfest in the U.S. is only going to get nastier, with the campaign shifting focus to the next upcoming state, with South Carolina the next major prize.
In a victory spree, former U.S. President Donald Trump has won the New Hampshire Republican presidential primary, topping his only GOP rival, Nikki Haley. Trump bagged 54.40% and Nikki Haley scored 43.29%.
You know, we won New Hampshire 3 times now, three. We win it every time. We win the primary, we win the generals, we've won it, and it's a very, very special place to me. It's very important.
The victory has brought closer to a likely rematch with Democratic President Joe Biden.
Trump says he's proud. I voted for Trump. He was great for the economy, and that's my main issue there. It's not an issue with Trump.
Republican, Donald Trump, because he is the only one who cannot be bought and sold, and the honesty is what we need right now. And I've always voted for him and will continue to.
Earlier, Trump has won with a thumping majority of the Iowa caucus. The victory was followed by the two GOP candidates, Vivek Ramaswamy and Ron DeSantis, pulling out of the race. Trump's Republican allies rallied behind him in New Hampshire.
What we saw tonight is America first defeating America last. That's what we saw tonight.
The Republican Party completely rejected her. She's going into a state absolutely loves him much more than they like her. And he's going to wipe her out in South Carolina.
This is not your
Though Trump continues to call out for the stepping down of Nikki Haley in the race, Haley says that the race is not over yet.
Thank you.
And she was up, and I said, wow, she's doing like a speech like she won. She didn't win, she lost. And, you know, last week we had a little bit of a problem, and if you remember, Ron was very upset because she ran up and she pretended she won Iowa. And I looked around, I said, didn't she come in third? Yeah, she came in third. And then I looked at the polls. She was talking about most winnability, who's going to win, and I had one put up. I don't know if you see it, but I have one put up.
They're falling all over themselves, saying this race is over.
It's not over!
Well, I have news for all of them. New Hampshire is first in the nation. It is not the last in the nation. This race is far from over. There are dozens of states left to go. And the next one is my sweet state of South Carolina.
President Joe Biden has won 54.2% as a write-in candidate in New Hampshire. The president condemned the abortion bans and blamed Trump for taking away the freedom of the American women.
Did anyone think that this is where America was going in 2024? I could go on. But look, and let there be no mistake, the person most responsible for taking away this freedom in America is Donald Trump. Listen to what he says. Trump says he's proud that he overturned Roe v. Wade. He said, and I quote, there has to be punishment for the women exercising their reproductive freedom. He describes the Dobbs decision as a miracle. But for American women, it's a nightmare.
Trump faces Nikki Haley at the next primary election on February 24th in South Carolina, which is also Haley's turf.
Joe Biden.
With Mahashweta Lala, Bureau Report, India Today.
On our national security.
A Russian military plane crashed in the Belgorod region near the Ukrainian border, killing 74 people on board, which included Ukrainian prisoners of war. Russian Defense Ministry has blamed the Ukrainian armed forces. Here is a report.
A Russian Il-76 military transport aircraft carrying 65 Ukrainian prisoners of war, 6 crew members and 3 others crashed in the Belgorod region of Russia. Governor of Belgorod region confirmed that all 74 on board were killed.
We just saw some red elongated flying object. Then we heard an explosion and saw a red flash, and that's it. We haven't seen anything else. Where those explosions were, nothing. Just the explosion maybe about 3 kilometers away from the village.
The Russian Defense Ministry blamed Ukrainian armed forces for shooting down the aircraft, while prisoners of war were being transported for a prisoners of war swap with Ukraine and called it an act of terrorism.
The Ukrainian leadership knew very well that according to the established practice, today Ukrainian military personnel would be transported by military transport aircraft to the Belgorod airfield for exchange. According to the previously reached agreement, this event was to take place in the afternoon at the Kolotilovka checkpoint on Russian-Ukrainian border. And nevertheless, Nazi Kiev regime took this step, pursuing the goal of blaming Russia for eliminating Ukrainian servicemen. By carrying out terrorist attack, the Ukrainian leadership showed its true colors.
The plane crash comes as Russia's war on Ukraine is set to enter its 3rd year with little battlefield progress made by each side. Kyiv and Moscow have had prisoners of war exchanged throughout the conflict. With Neha Kumari, Bureau Report, India Today.
The Maldives confirmed it hosted one of the Chinese research vessels, which are also known as spy ships. These ships are often seen very near the Indian coast. Vidisha Saha of India Today's open source intelligence team tracked the vessel down to the Java Sea. Here is a detailed report.
On radar, India closely monitoring the movement of Chinese spy vessel Xiangyang Hong 3. Chinese research vessels, or spy vessels as we call them, are high-tech sea crafts increasingly observed in Indian Ocean region, often aligning their snooping activities with the schedule of India's missile tests. Initially set for a Sri Lankan port, this vessel was spotted near Indonesia's Java Sea, expected to arrive in Malé on February 8 as per maritime data analysed by India Today's open source intelligence team.
Chinese survey vessel Xiangyang Hong 3 started its journey off the coast of Sanya port in South China. First it arrived at Thilawa port in Myanmar on January 17th. Maritime data indicates that the ship is currently near Sunda port in Indonesia, near the Java Sea, which is about 2,000 miles from the Indian Ocean region.
Over the years, China exploited its ties with Sri Lanka to dock its vessels at Sri Lankan ports. Xiangyang Hong 3 was expected to make a halt in Colombo port, but Sri Lanka barred entry of foreign research vessels. Spy ship's visit to Malé comes amid diplomatic tensions between India and Maldives. It all started in November last year over withdrawal of Indian troops stationed there and a social media spat. India maintains that discussions are ongoing. China and Maldives, on the other hand, elevated their relationship during President Muizu's state visit. This is not the first time the Chinese military research vessel spotted in the Indian Ocean region. Earlier, India Today reported that another vessel, Shi Yan 6, conducted research off Sri Lanka coast in October last year. The Ministry of External Affairs commented on the issue.
A ship, a Chinese vessel, all I can say is that, look, on such issues, government always takes necessary measures to safeguard our security and other interests. And I think on such security issues, we would not like to make any additional comment beyond that.
Several other China-flagged oceanographic vessels like He Yangshi Yo 760, Xiangyang Hong 9. Experts believe China will leverage the Indian Ocean seabed data to deploy submarines, underwater drones in this geopolitically significant region. With Vidisha Saha, Bureau Report, India Today.
That's all in this edition of World Today. Thank you for watching. Goodbye and take care.